Hey, special educators. Welcome to Teach, Taskbox, Inspire, the podcast dedicated to making your job as a special education teacher easier by making your instruction more fun for you and your students. Inside each episode, you'll learn how to get the most use out of your task boxes in the classroom. I'm your host, Lisa Holliday from Chalkboard Superhero, a veteran special education teacher passionate about empowering you with purposeful teaching strategies, helpful tips and tricks, and other classroom management tools that will help you thrive in your role. Let's get started with today's episode.
Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Teach, Taskbox, Inspire. I'm your host, Lisa Holliday, and today we're diving into one of the toughest but most transformative topics, turning problem behaviors into teachable moments. We've all been there, right? You're in the middle of a math group, things are going smoothly, and suddenly pencils are flying across the room, or a student drops to the floor and refuses to move, or maybe somebody yells, "No!" at the top of their lungs just because you asked them to transition. Those moments can feel defeating. But what if I told you that each one of them can become a powerful teaching opportunity? Today, I want to talk quickly about why behaviors happen in the first place, how to frame your mindset from frustration to curiosity, some quick strategies to respond in the moment, and how I use visuals, reinforcement, and a structure to kind of prevent them altogether. So grab your coffee, your notebook, and let's jump right in. The first thing I want to say, and I say this over and over and over again, and if you're a special education teacher, you've heard this 1,000 times, all behavior is communication. When students show challenging behaviors, they're telling us something, even if it's not in the most socially appropriate way. They might be saying, "This is too hard," or "I don't know what comes next," or "I'm overstimulated," or even "I want your attention, but I don't know how to ask for it." And when we look at behavior through that lens, the communication lens, our response changes. We stop taking it personally and we start asking, what is the need behind this behavior? Think about your students. Maybe you have a student like Sam who shuts down when routines change, or maybe Marcus who argues or elopes when he's anxious. Each behavior tells a story. So it's our job as special educators to kind of decode that story, right? You want to ask yourself, what happened right before this behavior? That's your antecedent. What did the student get or avoid after it happened? That's your consequence. And what need did that behavior meet for them? And that's your function. Once you know the function, you can teach a replacement behavior that meets the same need but in a more appropriate way. Now, let's talk about reframing your mindset. When I first started teaching, I used to see behavior as something that needed to be fixed right away. I took it so personal. If a student yelled at me, I'd think, why is this happening to me? But over time, I had to learn to shift my thinking to, why is this happening for me? What can I learn about this student, their needs, or really my teaching approach? And here's the truth. Behavior management isn't about control. It's about connection. When we respond with curiosity, we model emotional regulation for our students. Even on the inside, when we're screaming into the void, try saying things like, "It looks like you're feeling frustrated. Let's take a break and then try again." Or, "I see that you're upset. How can I help you get what you need?" It's not giving in, it's teaching self-regulation. These students are missing that piece. So let's talk about those high stress in the moment strategies, because theory is great, and I'm sure you're all saying, "Okay, Lisa," but reality is loud and fast moving. So here's a quick 3-step framework that I want you to try. Number 1, pause before you react. Just take a deep breath. The goal isn't to win this power struggle. It is to kind of guide the student back to regulation, right? So they're screaming, it's chaos. Take a breath. I want you to lower your tone, not your expectations, but your tone. In a calm, even voice, I want you to say, "I know this is hard. I'll help you when you're ready." And then I want you to redirect with purpose. Use visuals. choices or prompts to re-engage the student. For example, you can say, you pick. You can finish the worksheet here or take a break first. So if you use visuals, and you know I love them, this is where they shine. Calm down visual cards or first then boards or token board, they all give students structure when their emotions feel chaotic. And remember, if a student is dysregulated, they can't learn. So you need to get them regulated first, then instruction. So now comes the teachable moment part. Once that storm passes, when your student is calm, that's when your window to teach, you might say things like, remember earlier when you threw that paper? Let's talk about what happened. And again, keep it short, neutral, and focused on what they can do next time. So some examples are, next time you're mad, you can ask for a break. Or when you're frustrated, you can point to your help card and you can point to that for them. Or you can say something like, you can tell me, I need space, Mrs. Holiday. You know what I mean? And then you have to practice it. Make it a visual, model it, reinforce it. You can't just say those phrases to them and kind of like walk away and hopefully they remember when they're dysregulated. Practice it. Like go back and forth and model it for that child. And the goal isn't just to stop that behavior. It's to replace it with something functional. And we can't talk about behavior without talking about prevention. Most behaviors can be reduced simply by increasing structure and predictability. So using visual schedules and mini schedules, which I talk about ad nauseum, clear routines for transitions, built-in movement breaks and sensory breaks, reinforcement systems that actually motivate your students. One of my favorite systems is pairing reinforcement with visuals, like a token board or some sort of choice menu that empowers students to see their success kind of building up. And remember, you set the tone. So if you stay calm, structured, and predictable, your students start to mirror that. So as we wrap up today's episode, I do want to remind you that no one, not even the most seasoned special educator, including myself, who've been doing this for almost, 2 decades, handles every behavior perfectly, especially at home. We're all human. There will be days when you stay calm and composed, and there's going to be days when you want to cry in your car after school, and that's okay. But every time you pause instead of react, every time you teach instead of punish, you're building trust. And that trust is what leads to change. So here's your challenge this week. The next time a behavior happens, take a second and ask yourself, what is this behavior trying to tell me? Because when we approach behavior with curiosity and compassion, we don't just manage our classrooms, we're changing lives. And you are going to be that teacher that student remembers, that student will always think about, who took the time to learn who they are, who took the time out to be that person. And all it really takes is one person to change a student's life forever. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Teach, Task, Box, Inspire. If this episode resonated with you at all, please take a moment to share it with another special educator who might just need that reminder that behavior is communication. And don't forget to leave a review. Your feedback really helps this community grow and reach more teachers just like you. Until next time, guys, bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Teach, Task, Box, Inspire. I hope you've gained some tips and motivation to fuel your week ahead. If you're ready to explore more strategies for empowering your students as independent learners, be sure to dive into my free training at chalkboardsuperhero.com/training. And don't keep all this knowledge to yourself. Share this episode with your special education teacher friends who could use some motivation and inspiration. One more thing before you go. If you're finding this podcast helpful and want to show support, head to Apple Podcasts and leave your rating and review. Until next time, keep teaching, task boxing, and inspiring.